And we are live. What's going on, everybody? It's the middle of the week. Happy hump day to you all. It's a Wednesday night watch along. End of the Dead. My light's very dim tonight. It was dead when I plugged it up here just a second ago, so maybe it'll warm up, maybe it'll get a little brighter, but right now it looks like I'm in the dark. I'm kind of in the I don't know, the aesthetic mood for Land of the Dead here. Like we were talking about the other night, Land of the Dead always kind of seemed like a darker Romero film in terms of just the colors and all that. So I guess it's kind of fitting. But hope everybody's doing well out there. Hope you're having a good week. Just saw you guys just a few nights ago on Sunday night. Really fun stream. Really good seeing everybody out on Sunday night. That was a lot of fun. A little Ask Me Anything and whatever came up, came up. There we go. I think it's starting to bright up a little bit, so or maybe it's the screen here. But I'm on the menu screen of Land of the Dead. I'm actually watching the old school DVD of Land of the Dead slipcase before that was a thing. You know what I mean? Um, so that's what I'm watching tonight. You guys are more than welcome to watch along tonight with me. If you have it on DVD, Blu-ray, VHS, it was one of the last VHS releases that really ever that came out as a new release back in the day. Um, they're out there. They're kind of hard to find. You don't see a whole lot of them out in the wild. But that was kind of the end of the VHS run. The last of the Romero films on VHS, oddly enough. Well, actually, that's not true. They just did the amusement park. They did a VHS release of the amusement park, so I stand corrected. But hope everybody's doing well. See what we've got in the chat so far. Got Mr. Nicholas Cato Strode. What's going on, man? The chef's kiss, like that little intro there. I will say the graphic that I made there for the Fiddler's Green and Pittsburgh and the moonlight. I mean, it does look pretty cool. Looks like something from a video game. I didn't intend it to look that way, but that's just kind of how it looks. So I kind of dig it. We got the man Matt Landrum stopping in for a minute to say hello. What's up, Matt? Hope you're doing well. Hope your week's going well. Looking forward. I think you're going to be joining us Saturday for the Romero Fan Roundtable number 3, the Road to Living Dead weekend. Looking forward to that. Been reaching out to a couple of people, and like I mentioned on Sunday, anybody out there that's interested in joining, that's going to be attending Living Dead weekend this year, want to come on and kind of get hyped and talk about the event, let us know, what your plans are, what you're looking forward to. Is it your first time? Are you a regular? Let me know. Shoot me an email or a comment, or however you can get a hold of me. Get a hold of me. Everybody is more than welcome. So looking forward to that. It's going to be a really fun roundtable discussion. And then the following weekend, just a refresher for all you guys, on Saturday, the following Saturday, the 31st, May 31st, also doing the Day of the Dead live fan commentary. If anybody wants to get in on that, you're more than welcome. I think Matt's going to join us for that as well. So just get with me, let me know, shoot me a message as well. And then, like I said, it's open for everyone. And then, of course, June 1st, it's going to be the big one. It's going to be fun. Living Dead Weekend preview show that Sunday. Back-to-back days with shows. So I'm really putting in the work. Going to have Lawrence DeVincent's going to join us, along with Daz Sargent, two of the key components to the Living Dead weekend, making it happen every year. So we're going to get them on. You guys ask any questions, whatever you guys want to know about the event this year, maybe the event going forward, the history of the event. We're going to talk about it all. I'm looking forward to it. So I'll see you guys there. Ed, what's going on, man? Ed Trader Music and Entertainment is in the house. I worked at Deluxe, manufactured the DVDs. I got to hear the commentary and see the special features on lunch breaks. It shipped at over 200,000 units. Yeah, you got to think 2005. That was the heyday of DVD. Like, that was, I don't know, was Blu-ray out yet? Was Blu-ray a thing yet? I don't remember. I don't think it was. Blu-ray came out until like a couple of years later, because like the early Anchor Bay Blu-rays, like Dawn of the Dead and all that, was like 2007. But 2005, Land of the Dead on DVD. I remember picking this up the day it came out, because I'd seen it in theaters like 3 separate occasions. And I liked it more each time I saw it. But when it came out on DVD, I mean, of course, it was like an instant, like, gotta have it, gotta buy it, and took it home, showed it to everyone. I was like, hey, this is George's new movie. Um, but yeah, I remember vividly when it came out on DVD. I was super super pumped about that. But good to see you, Ed. Got Bonnie Bailey's in the house. What's going on, Bonnie? Good to see you. Chintz 2D is here. Says Land of the Dead has a purple color feel for me. Yeah, we talked about that the other night. Like I was thinking, it's like a dark blue, purplish type of vibe for me as well. And I think I kind of got that vibe going on here. And if my light doesn't pick up any power here, I'm gonna be kind of in the shadows here tonight. It's a little darker than I usually like, but we'll roll along with it, I guess. Um, John Vulo, what's going on, John? Says, hey, I won't be watching along, but I'll be here listening while I research and relax. Well, good to see you, John. Feel free to listen along if you're not watching along. That's always cool. Nicholas says, everyone grab their cigars. Just check behind the counter first. That's right. That is right. And the zombie, the police officer zombie that actually bites poor Sean Roberts' arm. That would be a fun photo op or something, Living Dead Weekend, because they're both going to be there this year. Get a photo op with them, the zombie and the zombie that bit Sean Roberts. Poor Sean. But yeah, pretty cool. He's going to be at Living Dead Weekend this year. Ed says a lot of VHS orders of Land were canceled close to the last minute. That's interesting. I wonder why. I guess because it was like right at that transition period where VHS was kind of on the outs and DVD was on its way in. So maybe a lot of people, maybe they were like, more people are going to buy the DVD than the VHS. Which I by that point I was definitely all DVD. I wasn't really buying or collecting VHS too much at that point. I don't think VHS lasted too much longer than that. All right, looking forward to it, my man. Matt said I'll be with you on Saturday for sure. Looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it as well. I think John's going to join us. John Vulo is going to be part of the round table. I think Synth's going to join us. So, and we'll see who else between now and then will step up to the plate. Which should be fun. Matt says in the day watch along stuff. But all right, I'll see you there, my man. Matt says Land was always a dark gray color to me in my mind. Yeah, that's a good call. The dark gray and green, I can definitely see that. Stesio, what's going on, Stesio Descartes? So, evening all, getting excited for LDW, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you there. It should be fun. Jeff, what's going on, Jeff? Down is up, he says. Hey, Michael and everyone in the chat. This will be the first time I will be seeing this since it came out in theaters. Wow, you haven't gone back and revisited Land of the Dead since it came out in theaters. That's interesting. So I guess you weren't a big fan of it when you saw it in the theaters then. I don't know. I don't remember a lot of people really complaining about it when it first came out. I think a lot of people were just excited that George was making another zombie film, and I think everything else was just kind of secondary in terms of critiquing it and really picking it apart. I mean, I was kind of that way. I was just happy that George had another film, but I could see it's a film you can definitely see George in, like George's sense of humor, George's way of thinking. And thinking about it today, I knew I was doing this live watch along tonight. Thinking about it today, the thing I like most about Land of the Dead, more so than anything else, is the world building that George does in this film. Like, he does a great job, and it's I guess perfectly named Land of the Dead. I mean, it really is world building that George is doing in this, and kind of showing what the world is like at this point during the zombie apocalypse, and the separate classes and all that. I think he does a great job at that, if nothing else, in this film. Let's see. Ed says, I was told because rental outlets were not interested in Land. That's interesting. I don't buy that as much, because Land was pretty successful. It was more successful on home video than it was in theaters. I know that for sure. But that's interesting. I would think I just think VHS was kind of on its way out. And I mean, you could tell. See, the only thing is you can tell that Land was pretty popular when it came out, and like on DVD, because you see, if you go to like a used DVD place or used media places, you see copies of Land of the Dead everywhere. It's kind of one of those. It's kind of like Diary of the Dead. You see a lot of Diary of the Dead too, because that's sold like hotcakes on home video as well. Yeah, that's a good point there, Matt. Yeah, sad news about LMA, by the way. Any more news about her condition? I haven't heard anything else. I don't know if John, if you've heard anything else on her condition, but yeah, I saw that today on the Night of the Living Dead Facebook page that LMA Smith, of course, one of the ghouls from Night of the Living Dead, and really, and the write up that they did was pretty spot on. She's kind of always been like an ambassador for Night of the Living Dead. Like she's embraced it. Like there's been so many stories I've heard from so many people about that would just go because she lives like her house is right next door to the land where the old farmhouse was, and that's how she kind of got her role as a ghoul in Night of the Living Dead. And there's so many stories of people that will go there to visit that spot, that location, because that's where the farmhouse was. And then LMA will like come out of the house and be like, "Hey, are you fans of Night of the Living Dead?" Well, I was a ghoul in Night of the Living Dead, and she'll invite you into her house and show you pictures. And she's kept some stuff from the film that she still has over the years, um, and just she's so proud of that. Of her time on Night of the Living Dead, and Will had an experience with her, that same kind of experience where and from what I've heard, from what he's told me, I've never done it. I've never actually met LMA. Um, Believe it or not, I've never actually talked to LMA, but Will one time was out there, and if you just walk up to her front door, knock on the door, she'll come to the door, and you just tell her like, "Hey, are you LMA Smith? Like, I'm a huge Night of the Living Dead fan." She'll welcome you in, and like I've always heard those, and even the recent Horrors Hallowed Grounds that Larry did with Sean Clark, they ended up inside LMA's house because they were there doing the location, and of course LMA's there. They knock on the door, and she welcomes them in. Um, Super super cool. Yeah, definitely one of those. Yeah, I mean, I guess that is the best term is like she's just an ambassador for for the film. Like she's always talked highly about it, and yeah, it's really sad that she's in bad health, and I guess is in convalescence care, I guess is what they said. So they said it was a pretty serious illness that she's dealing with. So yeah, all the thoughts and good vibes going out to LMA for sure. I hope she bounces back, and I'd love to see her at another Living Dead weekend or something in the future. Hopefully, because like I said, I've missed out to this point. I can't recall if she's ever been at any of the Living Dead weekends that I was at. I think maybe she was there I think she was there at the Living Dead weekend in Evan City that I was at, but I just missed her. I didn't get a chance to really talk to her. Um, but yeah, very terrible news. So Ella, we're all thinking about you, LMA. Hope you bounce back, and uh, yeah, just terrible news. I hated to hear that. Uh, what's up, Steven? Steven Ustrack Jr. Howdy, campers, he says. Man, Brian Stahl is in the house. What's up, Brian? I think I'll be seeing you at Living Dead Weekend. I'm sure you'll be there. You're right down the road, so you better be there, damn it. Love that Fiddler's Green and the approximation of PPG Place. Yeah, I still dig Land. It has some cool Romero dialogue you had in the original trilogy. Good shooting, Charlie. No such thing as good shooting. Or yeah, it's good shooting, Charlie. No such thing as nice shooting. Yeah, that was one thing that really stood out to me the first time I saw Land of the Dead was the dialogue. You could tell Romero spent a lot of time on the dialogue. Um, there's a lot of you know interesting thoughts, and it's the dialogue is very philosophic. I don't and you can debate whether or not it really fits some of the characters. That's kind of always some of the critique I've heard is like maybe some of the characters wouldn't talk that way, but it's definitely George's voice, and it's definitely, like I said, it's more of a philosophical uh, vibe to the dialogue, I would say. Um, but yeah, fully agree. Good to see you, man. Nicholas says, I was too young to be a picky film nerd. I liked it because it was an interesting action-packed zombie film with great effects and a variety of characters. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, when people, I mean, of course you're going to compare it to the original trilogy, and does it hold up to night, dawn, day? No, probably not. but I think for the time, 2005, I mean, it was definitely an interesting horror film. It definitely had something to say. It had a message to it, long before like everything had a message to it. Kind of like movies do now, where everything has to have some kind of deeper meaning, deeper message. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's an interesting film. There's definitely flaws to it. A lot of it, but budgetary wise, I mean, the film was made for about 17, 18 million, if I remember correctly, somewhere between 15 and 18 million, which is about half of the budget that the Dawn remake had, which the Dawn remake was made for about 30. But to me, Land of the Dead looks like a bigger film than the Dawn remake. Like more of that money is on the screen, like with the city and all that. Like it just seems like there's a maybe not so much in the CGI, but the scope of Land of the Dead feels like a much bigger film than just a 15 to $18 million budget. So I think that's a tip of the hat to George and his ability to stretch the dollars as far as it can go. Hey, what's up, Paul? Paul Farber's in the house at work right now, running Wet Ones labels. Very cool. Just wanted to say hi. Well, how you doing, man? Hope you have a good night at work. Um, uh, let's see. I think we're here. Steven says I actually saw this on 4th of July back in the day. The only movie I've ever seen in the theater on the 4th. Fond memories. Hey, good, perfect movie for the 4th of July. The Sky Flowers. I mean, I think it fits. I think it's a good 4th of July, a good 4th of July film. Um, John says I'll talk a little more about it on Saturday, but in short, it's not good. Okay, yeah, I hate to hear that. Which I was curious. I was hoping she was okay because I haven't really heard much about her, and I know with the reunion, the Night of the Living Dead reunion this year, Living Dead weekend, they're kind of bringing out everybody that's are still around and associated with the film. I mean, they just announced Gary Striner's going to be there, which I was assuming. I mean, Gary. I mean, you can't have a Night of the Living Dead reunion without Gary. But pretty much everybody else is going to be there, and I hadn't heard anything about LMA yet, and I was like, I hope she's okay. So hearing that news today, while sad, I can't say that I was shocked because I was for sure like if they were going to do a Night of the Living Dead reunion, LMA was going to be there, and the fact that she hadn't been announced yet was kind of concerning. So, um, yeah, I agree, Jeff. Very very sad news. Um, yeah, Matt says I've never met her either. I thought about leaving some condolences if we swing by the farmhouse spot, but don't want to overstep. I honestly like if you can, I think she'd be tickled to death by that because like I mentioned, Will's told me, Larry's done it. Like, just if she's one of those people that you can just show up at her doorstep, knock on the door, and tell you're not a Living Dead fan. She's just like, oh well, come on in. She's very very welcoming, very great hospitality. So I bet something like that would really brighten her day, and hopefully maybe, you know, help her through some of this shit right now. Uh, Carl B, what's going on, Carl B? Says I love this movie. Well, very good. I hope you're watching along with us. Like I said, DVD, Blu-ray. They just did the 4K, which I haven't checked out the 4K yet. I'm not sure what that how that looks or how that it's a Scream Factory. And Scream Factory usually does a pretty good job with their 4K, so I'm sure it looks pretty good. And I feel like this is kind of one of those films that probably would benefit from 4K. So so yeah, I'll probably pick it up at some point, but I just couldn't justify dropping the 35, $40, whatever it was, just to get the 4K upgrade because the one let me pull it down here. The edition that the Blu-ray edition that Land of the Dead that Scream Factory did is actually, I mean, it's a pretty solid. It's a 2 disc. You get the theatrical version and the unrated version. I'll be watching the unrated director's cut, quote unquote. It's got commentaries and all kinds of good stuff on this. So I'm pretty happy with this. It's kind of the same way I felt about that Creep Show when they did Creep Show in 4K. I was like, the Blu-ray they did, the packaging on that and everything was pretty perfect. I still ended up getting the Creep Show 4K because it's Creep Show and was curious to what it would look like in 4K, and it is beautiful in 4K. I'll say that. But I don't know. I'm just kind of out of just upgrading something just to upgrade it. But yeah, hope you're watching along, man. Good to see you. Nathan, what's going on? Nathan B says she's a true believer. She really is. Yeah, that is that's a good description. Yeah, she's definitely a true believer. I'll say that. Good to see you, Nathan. John says, loved Ella the first time I saw her in Autopsy and One for the Fire. Really upsetting. Yeah, that's a both of those documentaries when she's in there and hearing her tell her stories about how she got involved, and you can just see that you can tell when people are just really just kind of um, really just tickled to be a part of something like a documentary or something talking about something they did all those years ago. Um, you could really see her shine through that. So. Um, Chin says LMA is a sweetheart. She seems so nice. Yeah, really, really does. Brian says Sunday is the plan. Very cool, Van. Very cool. I will see you there. I will see you there for sure. Nicholas says, yeah, I'd take the fences and full autos in this way before the crowd and that propane tank in the Dawn remake. Oh, okay. So you take this over the Dawn. Okay, I gotcha. I was like, I would take the fences and the full autos and okay, gotcha. Yeah, the Dead Reckoning is a pretty cool aspect of this film too that I don't think it's talked about enough. And I love that the original title of the film was Dead Reckoning, and I kind of like that title a little better. But of course, as George has mentioned, everything has to be of the dead. So um, yeah, and the effects too. The great, K and B, the effects. Like I said, some of the CGI is a little hit or miss for me, but for the most part, it's a zombie film. A lot of gore, a lot of goop. Chin says George really captured the eeriness with that fireworks scene when the zombies were mesmerized by the fireworks. How the neighborhood looked so dark and creepy really was really unsettling. Yeah, and I love that idea too. There's some really like that's the thing about Land of the Dead. There's some really great ideas, and George had 20 years to think of this shit. So he came up with some pretty cool ideas, and the idea is that the fireworks would distract the zombies, and kind of it's symbolism for how we as a society can be distracted by loud noises and bright colors while while we're being robbed and pillaged right under our noses. I've always thought that was kind of cool and definitely Romero-esque. Um, but yeah, good to see everybody. Hope you guys want to watch along. We'll get it started here in just a second. I'll let you guys cue it up. I'll give the countdown. 3, 2, 1. Press play now. You know the drill. And pretty cool. I mean, it's crazy to think 20 years ago this film came out. Um, it seems like yesterday I was going to the theater on my first paycheck and my first job and my first car and Land of the Dead finally coming out in theaters. It was just I was there opening night, could not wait. It's crazy to think 20 years that it's been since this film came out, but it's been a little bit since I've actually watched it, so kind of curious how it's going to play for me on another watch here tonight, but should be interesting. But I'll give you guys just a second to get it queued up, um, and for those of you that want to watch along. But before we do that, I do want to give all of you guys a special shout out real quick. Today I actually just hit very, very cool milestone for me. 2,000 subscribers here on this channel. And that's so cool. And people talk about, oh, how many subscribers do you got? I've heard of, certain people that are like, oh, I won't do your channel unless you have 5,000 subscribers and blah, blah. And it's like I've said from day one, it's like, I don't care. Like, 2 subscribers, 20 subscribers, 2,000 subscribers, whatever it is. I've made so many good friends and met so many cool people through doing this channel, and that's like the most important thing to me. But hitting 2,000, it's something I never thought I would ever accomplish on this channel doing this. I didn't think there were 2,000 people that'd be interested in hearing me talk about George Romero every fucking week. But it's pretty cool, and I thank each and every one of you guys. I appreciate you guys for helping me do that, spreading the word, and the constant support. And so I just want to give you guys a special shout out. I don't really know. Most people do like a special thing for 2,000. They make a big deal out of it, and that's cool, man. It is definitely a cool milestone, and definitely something that should be applauded. But I just think it's a testament to how beloved George is and his films are, and the legacy that he left behind, more so than anything I'm doing. I just think people are interested in anybody talking about his films and the genre and all that. I think that's what it really boils down to. I just so happen to be one of those that can just kind of talk and talk and talk and talk and fucking talk about it and never run out of shit to talk about, really. So thank you guys. It's super super cool. I really really appreciate all the support you guys have shown. And hey, here's it's Wednesday. I'm drinking water tonight, guys. So, and I felt kind of shitty. My allergies have been acting up today. It's been pretty bad. But here's to you guys. Thank you so much. 2,000. Here's to 3,000. By God, we're gonna get to 3,000, and before you know it, I'll be viral, and I'll be like Hawk Tua. I'll be ripping all you guys off with a crypto scheme, and on my way to prison for a number of years. So I look forward to that. But I'm glad you guys are on the journey with me. I lost my top. Hang on. It's never good to lose your top. Uh, but all right, let's get this sucker rolling. Hit the comments here real quick. We'll get it started. Give you guys a chance to sign up, or not sign up, but to queue it up, I guess. Um, Nicholas says, I think the Skyflowers also complete the arc of how the zombies become the people and we become the zombies, only they can still look up and enjoy the beauty of the world. That's a good way to look at it too. I kind of like that. That's a pretty cool way to look at it too. I dig that. Chin says only the zombies can enjoy the world that has been destroyed. Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, it's their land now. It's their world, and by Land of the Dead, I mean, Day of the Dead, they're pretty much taken over, but by Land of the Dead, it is like, they've just repopulated the earth with themselves. They're all, Big Daddy's the gas station guy. You got the couple walking around. You got the butcher. He's still got the knife and doing the butcher thing. You got the band still playing. It all kind of comes full circle, and the dead are just kind of taking over what everything we used to do. Um, Hey, thank you so much, Matt. Man, I appreciate your support for sure. You've always been a big supporter of the channel, and always been a source of real encouragement and kind words, and yeah, it means a lot, man. It really means a lot. So I can't thank you enough. Um, Chance, thank you so much, my man. It says it's cool that there are others out there that enjoy Romero movies as much as you do. Yeah, because man, I'm telling you, growing up, like I didn't think there was anybody else out there. I was like, man, there's like a handful of us. Like there's maybe like 10 people in the world that may like this shit, but I didn't know any of them growing up. Like it was just me. Like it's like, oh, that's Mike. He's the zombie guy. And it's like, yeah, I'm the zombie guy. I like Romero, and they're like, who's Romero? I'm like, don't worry about it. Um, Stezio says YouTube policy is you have to do 2,000 push-ups. Oh man, I might have to just. This might be the end of the channel then, because I don't think I can. I don't think I can. I don't think I can do that. Um, well, at least I'm not gonna get spanked 2,000 times or something like that. If YouTube would, they probably, or if YouTube could, they probably would. Steven says, congratulations, honored to be part of this. One of us, one of us, one of us. We accept to one of us. Thanks, my man. I appreciate it. Uh, Ed says, just wait until you hit 5,000 subs. It feels great. We'll have a party for you. Congrats. Hey, if I keep doing it, as long as I enjoy doing this, as long as you guys enjoy watching it, because that is a big part of it. I do enjoy doing this, and I of course enjoy talking about George and talking George with you guys. But a lot of the times it's like I want, as long as I just, I want it to be entertaining and informative and whatever else for you guys. So as long as I'm enjoying doing it, I'm gonna keep doing it, and we'll see 5,000 whatever. But um, Jen says, to be honest, if I got bit, I wouldn't mind joining the hordes of the undead to roam around aimlessly. Just a thought I just got in my mind right now. At least as the undead, we would all get along. Yeah, for the most part, yeah, you don't really see too many disagreements amongst the zombies, unless they're fighting over some entrails or something like that. Kind of like in Dawn when they're fighting over the arm or whatever it is. Uh, but yeah, it's kind of like Cholo says in this film. It's like I've always kind of wondered how the other side lives. Which I'm surprised they haven't made a film like that where it's literally. I'm sure they have. I've probably missed it. And it's some direct to video or something where it's all told from the point of view of the zombie. Um, which might get kind of boring after a while. It seems like a good concept. It's kind of like we were talking about the other night with like Skinamarink and in a Violent Nature. It's like it's an interesting concept, but it might wear out its welcome pretty quickly. Um, but all right, I got the movie queued up. We'll go ahead and get it started here, and I'll give you guys the countdown, and we will go ahead and get into this monkey. This monkey. On the menu screen now. So I'm gonna hit play from the menu screen. So there may be some shit before that. I don't know, but we'll be right around the same spot. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Press play now. Oh, there we go. That might be a couple seconds behind here. But yeah, I don't know about this light. Let me try. It's a little better. A little better. It looks like I'm completely in the dark here. Universal. Pretty cool. George did a film for Universal, and I love the old school Universal opening here. And that was definitely a George decision. He definitely wanted that with the black and white with the plane flying around. Because George was a fan of the old Universal films, and I'm sure I'm sure it tickled him to death to have this uh, this logo at the beginning of his film. A Day in the Unlife shall be the title. Yeah, I'm sure it's out there somewhere. I'm probably just only missed it. Chin said the zombies never attack each other, something that was shown really well in Dawn, right when they were about to attack Flyboy. They had a collective thought to stop. So that's right. They're like, this food's spoiled. Not for us. Man, I remember how cool it was sitting in a theater and seeing that Zenith radio on the big screen and hearing the radio broadcast from Night of the Living Dead. And in a theater on the big screen with an audience was the first time I had experienced anything like that. Um, this was the first Romero film I ever saw on the big screen, because back then they weren't re-releasing stuff as much as they do now. Like they've done Dawn of the Dead past few years. They got Day of the Dead coming out this year for the anniversary. A lot of little theaters will do little screenings, but in terms of like the major like like the multiplexes and stuff, I mean, 2005, I mean, that was still theaters were still pretty popular, pretty hopping. Um, so that you rarely ever saw old films being shown again. Uh, really didn't see that a whole lot around where I am, at least, until COVID hit. Once COVID hit and they stopped making films, theaters still opened up, showing all the classics, and that was some of the best times for me. And I know George wanted to use actual footage from the films Night, Dawn, Day in this opening here, which they ended up just kind of reshooting other stuff. He wanted to use some of that original footage, but the rights to those were all owned by different people. Like Rubenstein owns Dawn, Night public domain, which is why Soundbite actually got into this. And then of course Day was owned by Taurus at the time, so it was just not feasible to kind of um, to get all that footage. Do love this intro with the zombies walking around the churchyard here, and the sign says eats. And then of course the band here. And that zombie does look cool. The real skinny, emaciated zombie that's just kind of looking up. Which you can tell it was an actual dummy. It was an actual thing, but you can tell that it was definitely enhanced by CGI. But yeah, very very blue tint on this film for sure. There's the man himself, Big Daddy, keeping the love flame burning. See, the thing for like Big Daddy, like the character Big Daddy, he's almost too human. You know what I mean? Like he's almost not zombie enough for me. That was the biggest thing that bothered me when I first saw this. So I was just like, he doesn't seem like a zombie. Kind of like Bub. I mean, Bub was evolving, but he still was, came across like a zombie. Big Daddy was almost completely human at this point. Didn't really have a walk or anything to it. I mean, of course, walked slow and shit, but Simon Baker, which a lot of people aren't fans of Simon Baker, but now we cut to the garbage dump here. John Leguizamo and his gang. I got the subtitles on. It doesn't say. It just says speaking Spanish. Yeah, Matt, that vintage Universal opening excited me in the theater. Yeah. Yeah, that was definitely cool to see in the theater. Hey, what's up, Cameron? Cameron Sheffield's in the house. What's going on, man? I remember when I saw this in the theater, it was during the Super Bowl, which at the time I wasn't big into football, but I'll never forget there were three other people total in the theater. It was epic. That's surprising. There were three other people in the theater during the Super Bowl. But yeah, if you're not a football fan, I guess that is the perfect time to go see a movie or do anything else other than watch the Super Bowl. And Robert Joy, which is probably my favorite character in this film. Of course, Robert Joy is also in the Dark Half as well, which like the news is pretty much out there that we're getting a new Dark Half 4K soon, as soon as later this week, possibly. Which I have some stories and some information about, but we'll tell that when the time comes. But yeah, Charlie. I love the character Charlie is so innocent and so childlike almost, but he's just a fucking marksman with the guns though. Maybe the most deadly one of them all. It says a dead looking Earth with no lights was so creepy looking. Yeah, it fit perfectly. Oh yeah, I know you did, Ed. I popped at the Zenith radio. It was perfect. I know you did. That was like the first thing you see in the film. Nicholas, I love the band, so memorable. Matt says the tambourine zombie always made me cringe. Yeah, little weird, little weird. But I do remember that getting a chuckle in the theater when I saw it. Um, the zombies still, the fucking trombone, purr, that noise. I remember people kind of giggling about that. Hey, what's up, man? TCCK Gaming's in the house. Zup. Night of the Living Dead weekend is coming up, right? Something like that. Living Dead weekend, but Night of the Living Dead weekend kind of works too. Yeah, couple weeks away, man. Are you gonna be there? Gonna be there? Now's the time. That should be the slogan for this year's event. Now is the time. Just on a typewriter. It says it stood out to me that these weren't Savini zombies. Not that they were bad. It was just different. Yeah, and you got to think like at this point too, like effects had grown so much and changed so much over the years from Day of the Dead. And again, this kind of I've said this before. Like my biggest gripe with more modern zombie films is a lot of the zombies are so much makeup on them, which makes sense for Land of the Dead because they've been decaying and decomposing for years and years at this point. So they would look pretty goopy and fucked up, I guess. Um, but yeah, it's kind of like if these zombies didn't have like the butcher here, like if he wasn't carrying around a butcher knife and all that, and the baseball zombie with the baseball bat, like you really couldn't tell. Like they all kind of blend together. They were all looking at the sky flowers. Those sky flowers. And I was thinking about this today too. The idea that they call them stenches at this point makes total sense after the conversation that I had with Jace a couple weeks ago. We were talking about his time working in a funeral home and dealing with dead bodies and talking about the smell of dead bodies. It's like, yeah, that would be a perfect kind of nickname for them, stenches, because I'm sure they're pretty ripe, especially by this point. That always remember the flagpole to the head. That always kind of reminded me of that scene from The Beyond when that little girl gets shot in the head. Her the whole side of her head comes flying off. Uh, Matt says, "Yeah, Joy's my favorite character as well. Great actor. He played the perfect puppy dog slash sidekick. It's good. That's a good way to put it. He's kind of the puppy dog. But again, like I said, he's probably the most dangerous one of the bunch because he's probably the best marksman of the bunch. And here comes the first of Big Daddy's famous howls or whatever you want to call this thing. Which I was never a fan of that. I was just never a fan of the way he'd go. "Arr!" Never got it. Never understood it. That's a little cringe to me. But again, we're talking like Romero's world building here. That the humans have kind of figured out ways to maneuver around these towns and stuff to get supplies and all this stuff. They know shoot the sky flowers in the air. They got the dead reckoning that is pretty much impenetrable by the living dead. They've just kind of adjusted to life as it is now, as opposed to really taking it as much of a serious threat, which is what would happen in real life. Um, I think that's just kind of human nature. No matter how bad things get, you just adjust and keep moving. And by this point, whereas opposed in Day of the Dead, they're still trying to figure out how do we get back to life the way it used to be. They still haven't come to you know to grips with the fact that life is no longer exists, like that world no longer exists. But here it's just like, oh, this is a job, like this is just what we do. Like we go out, we get supplies, we come back, and it just is what it is. I always thought this was pretty effective, just showing the power of the dead reckoning. And love the line here: "It's not a battle, it's a fucking massacre." Pretty much, pretty much. Steven says, "I understand your point on assembling the different footage, but I believe something could have been worked out. It also would have helped push the old product as well." Yeah, and I was thinking about that too. Like when this movie came out, it came out after Dawn, the Dawn remake, and Shaun of the Dead. That kind of that I think Shaun of the Dead more than anything kind of revitalized people's interest in zombie films and Romero. Um, but I think a lot of people when this came out, they tried to that opening sequence, with the credits or whatever, kind of tells you like, oh, this is what has happened. So I guess most people understood it, but I think a lot of people that weren't familiar with George's earlier films were probably a little confused that it's starting out and the world has already been taken over. So, but I think maybe some people, but I think most people kind of got it. Um, but yeah, I was kind of hoping when I first saw this in the theater, I was kind of hoping that they would kind of show, because that would have been the one and only opportunity I would have gotten to see Dawn on the big screen. Just a clip, just a little bit, just a little bit. Now this is zombie that looks very similar to Bub. I've always heard people say, but this zombie does something that I absolutely hate, and it's like every zombie movie since 28 Days Later has done this, where the zombies will they screech like a pterodactyl. They're just like, "Ah!" It's like, well, why do they make that noise? But it's modern filmmaking. You got to throw those little jump scares in there, I guess. Matt says exactly. Puppy dogs still bite. That's the way I've always looked at him. Fiercely loyal. Yeah, yeah. That's yeah. Yeah. Literally in every way, he's like Riley's dog. He's like his guard dog. Um, Now this bite coming up is one of the best zombie bites I think in any Romero film. On this arm here. Ooh, right on a spot. Like I remember when you see this bite in the theater, where people kind of moaning, squirming a little bit because it's like right on a real tender part of the arm, like right here. I think people could feel that, but so that's Gino. Be there at Living Dead weekend this year, and Gino Crignali, I guess is how I'm not 100% sure how you pronounce his last name, but good friends with Nicotero and has pretty much been and had some kind of role as a stunt guy or a zombie or a background actor or something in anything Nicotero's really ever done horror wise. Hell of a list of credits for that guy, going all the way back to like Frankenhooker, um, Frank Henenlotter. Now that's when I kind of got excited in the theater. I was like, oh okay, we're watching a Romero zombie film. When the kid showing Sean Roberts' character, when the kid fucking shoots himself, just like not no build up, no nothing, just kind of like in Dawn, when Rod Tucker gets the bullet in the head, and it's just like there's no build up to it, and you don't see it coming, and all of a sudden it's like bam. It's like I've always said that's brilliant the way that George did that, where you introduce this character and Rod Tucker, and then all of a sudden, first time you watch it, you're thinking like, oh, that's one of the main characters because we got his full name, like we know his first and last name, and then all of a sudden, like bam, this kid, it makes it seem like, oh, he's going to be one of the main characters through the film. But as soon as he gets bit, you're like, oh, okay, well, this could last. This could be some kind of story throughout the film. And then all of a sudden, he's just like, no, fuck it, I'm done. Like, and you're just like, wow, okay. So it kind of keeps you on edge. You're not really sure what direction this film's going. Um, but I will say that's another big issue that I had with Land of the Dead is that too many of the main heroes survived. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, Big Daddy pissed. He's pissed, y'all. He didn't buy anything from his table. That's how Eugene Clark reacts when you don't buy nothing from his table. Um, they predate on the zombies now. Yeah, yeah, the humans are more primitive than the zombies almost at this point. You'd think. Hey, Rob Lucas. Oh my God, dude, Big Daddy is finally live. I'm late. Yes, he is, and now he's leading the army towards Fiddler's Green, which is always a great idea to me. The idea of the Fiddler's Green, the building that's been secured and is like where the rich people live in. And if you know Pittsburgh, that's basically Pittsburgh. The film was shot in Pittsburgh. The film was shot in Toronto. It's unfortunately, which George wanted to film it in Pittsburgh, but unfortunately, by the time that he was ready to film Land of the Dead, the Pittsburgh film scene, it just wouldn't. It didn't make physical sense for him to do that. It was much cheaper, much more affordable to shoot things in Canada at this point, so they ended up shooting it in Toronto. But the city that this is taking place in is based off of Pittsburgh for sure. Um, Cameron says this was also my first time seeing Ozzy Argento. Well, hey, lucky man, lucky man. Um, I always thought that was cool, kind of a nod back to George's relationship with Dario putting Ozzy in this film, which I'm a big Ozzy Argento fan. Larry knows. Again, more world building here with this Fiddler's Green commercial. It's like, who is this being broadcast to? I love the idea that it's being advertised. The Fiddler's Green is being advertised to all these people that are never going to be able to have a place inside, the worker bees. It's almost like they're doing it just to taunt them, to be like, look what we have and look what you can't have. Um, which again is George kind of commenting on, advertising and a lot of the shit you see now. Like when you see advertising, you see good-looking people, have perfect relationships and life is grand and all that, and it's just like, hey, look what we have, and look, this could be you, but it's like that's just not realistic. That's not real life. So George kind of playing with it a little bit there. It says the only thing missing is some form of farming and agriculture. There are only so many stock stores to get supplies. That's true too. Yeah, you don't see many farms or anything in this little area here. I like that one line when Simon Baker, I forget what he says. You get liquor or something like that. He says something in his English accent starts to slip out a little bit. There's a It's a great shot. Them walking through down the downtown area completely empty. Rob Lucas says Ozzy Argento was in Mother of Tears, a film by Dario. That's right. Yeah, she was in pretty much everything Dario did after. What was her first film that she did with Dario? She was in Phenomena, I think was the first. If I'm not mistaken. And then pretty much after that, she was pretty much kind of what Sherry Moon Zombie was to Rob Zombie's. Like Dario put her in everything. I'm complaining, but um, the third in the trilogy, starting with Suspiria. First time I saw Ozzy, and yes, she was completely nude and has great knockers. There you go. Yeah, she doesn't have an issue with that. She doesn't have an issue with getting nude. Again. I love the world building in this film. You see what life is like inside the Fiddler's Green. There's just people shopping, and it looks like they're just hanging out in the shopping mall. It harkens back to Dawn of the Dead. It's like people ignoring the problems on the outside, and we're just gonna shop and just live the life of luxury in here. On the outside here in the slums, you got people, like bums sitting around a burning trash can, and I think they're eating lizards on a stick at some point in here, and of course the guards all set up around all the entrances. And Simon Baker, Riley's quote, you see that, and it feels like we're keeping them out, but I feel like they're keeping us in, type of thing. Again, George does a great job kind of showing like everything, um, kind of how the world is laid out, the rules, the kind of the laws and shit. Um, and that's George's daughter right there with the M16 taking his fucking head off. That's Tina, who's currently working on a new zombie film, Queens of the Dead, which is supposed to be coming out soon. So I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah, good zombie movement on Gino. Yeah, he's a very like. There's a I'll have to find it, but there's an actual reel, like a sizzle reel or whatever, of a lot of the stuff that he's done, and a lot of it is like very physical stuff. He had quite a few roles in The Walking Dead as certain zombies. Um, yeah, dude's done a lot. Oh, okay, I got you. I meant they hunt the zombies instead of vice versa. Predate equals predator. Gotcha. Pretty much at this point, yeah. You could live on the insides with birds. Fiddler's Green. Yeah, where'd all the birds go? Why couldn't they get real birds? Love this guy. Now, this is one of the scenes that was cut from the theatrical version, and I can see why. It doesn't really work. Not for me, at least. Cholo has to go in and save the woman from her husband who hung himself. And he comes back. Yeah, something about it just didn't work. It wasn't necessary. Uh, so I could see why this was cut out, but Again, we're watching the unrated director's cut, I guess, which was a big thing back in the day. Like with DVD, the advent of DVD, that was kind of common, where film released in theaters with the R rating, and then when it would come out on DVD, you would get the unrated version, like a lot of horror films back in the day. And yeah, there's I guess more gore and stuff in this that they really couldn't show in an R-rated film back in the day, but that's kind of silly to me now. But I guess it was 20 years ago. But yeah, it's kind of silly. Like you look now and you see Walking Dead on TV, and it's just as bad, if not worse, than most of the shit that wasn't allowed to play theaters back in the day. Chin says, "I wonder what would happen if the crew from Dave found out about Fiddler's Green and how bad they would want to try and get there after hearing about that safe zone." I don't know. I feel like John was. I think he kind of wanted to get the fuck away from everybody. Like he wanted to literally find that island and spend what time he had left looking up the sunshine. So I don't think Fiddler's Green would have been their bag if I were to guess. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I just never felt like this scene was necessary. Some of the choreography of it, maybe some of the editing wasn't quite right, but love the homeless guy here. Now talk about all the world building that Romero does in this film. I also think some of it's a little much. Some of it can be a little confusing if you've just seen it one time. There's a lot of moving parts. A thing like why is Riley looking for a car? What happened to it? Like what car? Hey, there's Simon Pegg and Edgar Wright as the zombies. Of course, it was like Simon Pegg was still wearing the tie and the shirt and same outfit from Shaun of the Dead. Just, a little worn out. I love the idea that they got these little clubs now. Some tatas. So so even when the world and money really means nothing anymore, they're still gambling and partying and doing the extracurriculars. Cameron says I met with Nicholas Guiney. I don't know who that is. Who is friends with Sean Roberts. This was way back when he made Matt's Last Chance with Edward Furlong. They go way back. Oh, very interesting. Yeah, so Sean's kind of popped up here recently. I saw he did. Do you know he's going to be at Living Dead Weekend this year? I think he's going to be scheduled to be at Weekend of the Dead as well. And he did another convention here a little bit back, and he was actually at the Texas Frightmare weekend in 2008 that I was at, but he was there with Michelle Morgan and they were promoting Diary of the Dead, which had just come out. Um, but yeah, I mean he's a Canadian actor. Worked I think he was Wesker in some of the Resident Evil films, um, and yeah, he's just now starting to get into the convention scene, which is pretty cool. Oh, what's his name? They were talking about this little guy on Dead Pit the other night. I can't think of what his name is off the top of my head. Uh, he shot the little fat man. Matt says Ozia wasn't in Phenomena. She was in Trauma. I think she was in Demons 2 also, and one of Mikhail Soave's films, maybe The Church or The Sect. I know she was in The Church. Demons 2, she was a little girl in Demons 2. Yeah, she was in Trauma. Phenomena, I think. Okay, Phenomena. I'm thinking of Fioria. Fiore. Fiore was it Fioria? Uh, Fiora was in Phenomena, I believe. She's the girl that gets killed at the beginning of Phenomena, gets her head cut off and falls down the the waterfall. So yeah, you're right about that. So yeah, I guess Ozzy Demons 2 would have been, I guess, her first role, just because I think she was still a little girl in that, if I remember correctly. Steven says, if you want to see a fucked up Ozzy Argento movie, watch The Heart is Deceitful Above All Things. No, I've never heard of that. A truly depressing and messed up movie makes the Doom generation look like old school Disney picture. Okay, interesting. I know she's a wild chick. Like, um, I mean, I guess you have to be if you're Dario Argento's daughter and you're in his films and he's, she's talked about like, oh yeah, it's kind of weird to think like I've been in all these movies that my dad directed and he's had me, like murdered and raped and all this other stuff and weird being, bare chested in front of my father and all this stuff. It's like kind of a weird way to grow up, I guess. It's a little out there. Um, but yeah, she's pretty wild from some of the stories I've heard. A little CGI blood there. I was never a big fan of. Matt says if it makes Doom Generation look innocent, it must be pretty fucked up. I wouldn't be surprised. Rob says, is Diamond Dead still being made? I remember hearing about a few movies, Twilight of the Dead and Queens of the Dead, all related to George. Diamond Dead, I think, I remember hearing about that years ago. Um, that was a thing, I think that was before Land of the Dead. I think that was right in between Bruiser and Land of the Dead, because, I mean, Bruiser and Land of the Dead was a 5-year period there, and George was still trying to get other things made. Was attached to some Stephen King stuff. The Girl Who Left Tom Gordon was one thing he was slated to direct at some point in the early 2000s. From a Buick 8 was another Stephen King thing that he was slated to direct. Um, but yeah, Diamond Dead kind of the other big thing that he was close. He was very close in getting that made. He actually I've seen them on eBay. They're rare, but every now and then there's little promotional jackets for Diamond Dead that'll pop up. There's some other little promotional stuff for it. So they were trying to raise some money and trying to get that made. I remember following that very closely back in the day when those rumors were going around and the idea that was his next thing that he was working on. Then Land of the Dead came up and the rest is history, as they say. But I don't know. I don't think that'll ever get made, unfortunately. But yeah, Twilight of the Dead and Queens of the Dead are definitely in production, as far as I know. Which Twilight we've talked about. And Twilight's weird because we keep getting little bits of information. It's like casting, like Mila Jovovich is slated to star in it. There'll be like little drips of information every now and then, but outside of that, it goes quiet for a long time. So I'm not sure if it's happening or if it's not, or um, if we're being duped. Who knows? But Queens of the Dead is definitely happening. I've heard that there's quite a few cameos from some Romero regulars. I know Galen Ross is going to be a cameo in it. She's talked about that. Um, some well-known fans of George's, I think, are going to have little cameos in it. So I don't know what to expect with that. I mean, it's Tina Romero. It's so I mean, I don't know what that's going to be like, but I'm here for it. I'll watch it. I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a fair shake. For fuck's sake, I watched Festival of the Living Dead, and so if I'll watch that, I'll watch anything. So we'll see. Uh, all right, Matt. Good to see you, man. Hope you have a good rest of the work week. Got to bounce for bed. I'll see you Saturday. I look forward to it, man. I'll see you then. Should be a fun one. Hey, Stugas. Stugas says, "Hey, friends. What's going on, man? Hope you're doing well." So here at this point, we've got Ozia, we got Simon Baker, Charlie, all locked up. So basically, I guess the idea is that Ozia was forced into the prostitution role because she has information. She knows what's going on with Kaufman. She's more of a revolutionary, is not so much a prostitute, I guess. Um, but she's trying to, lead the resistance against Kaufman and and the folks at Fiddler's Green, which they picked up on that and have now, I guess, forced her into prostitution. I guess I don't know, but I do think it's an interesting. Um, we just missed it here just a second ago, which Boyd Banks, the old butcher here. Which since we're watching Land of the Dead, I should just which I mean, I probably need some better lighting for it to work, but let's just put these guys right here. We got the butcher and oh no, stay right there. We'll just have the butcher and Big Daddy here watching with us. Which this light, let me turn it off. Let me try to turn it back on. See if it makes any bit of difference. No, not really. I don't know. I hope my light isn't going out. That would kind of suck. The thing was kind of pricey. Anyway, what the fuck I was talking about? Before I start fucking around with my toys up here. But the idea that Riley's character, Simon Baker's character, the idea that he's just kind of shut off all of his emotions. He's not, he's like, that happened to him, didn't happen to me. Like, I don't need to hear your fucking story. Like, I've heard every fucking story there is to hear. I don't care. It kind of shows you, like, that's kind of how you have to be to survive this long in this world. Like, pretty much the people that have survived this long have kind of, probably had to lie, cheat, and steal a little bit to make it this far. And speaking of lying, cheating, and stealing, was the great Dennis Hopper. He's one of my all-time favorite actors. I was so stoked to see that he was going to be a part of this. And I love his character in this. I mean, just the way he plays it. I mean, he just kind of gets it, which is funny. Which George always talked about. He would have political conversations with Dennis Hopper, and they were on kind of opposite ends of the political spectrum. So they would kind of have little debates and stuff on set, which they both come from that same generation. I mean, Dennis Hopper with Easy Rider and the New Hollywood movement in the late '60s. He was always associated with that, and George kind of the same way with Night of the Living Dead. So they were both from that same generation, but they just kind of were at different points at this point politically. So George always talked about they would kind of go back and forth, but he said Dennis Hopper completely understood what he wanted out of this character. Dennis Hopper's like, you want me to play it like Rumsfeld, like Donald Rumsfeld from the Bush administration back in the day. And George was like, absolutely, exactly, that's exactly what I want. And Dennis Hopper knew exactly what he wanted. Love Dennis Hopper. Blue Velvet is one of my all-time favorite performances ever. Love his performance in True Romance as well. That scene with him and Christopher Walken in the trailer. Two great actors going back and forth like that. All right, I'm gonna move these back out of the way. It's a little distracting. I'm just waiting for him to fall over, fucking break or something. So we'll just move you guys back here. But they wanted to pop in for a quick cameo. And it's a little too dark. You couldn't see him much anyway. There's George. There's the voice of the puppets. Take that, you dirty zombie. So that is technically George's cameo in Land of the Dead, which the only zombie film. Anybody want to name it? I think it was part of the Romero trivia we did some months back around Christmas time. But what is the one zombie Romero film that Romero does not make a cameo appearance in? Can anybody name it? Nicholas says it's nice to know that after the zombie apocalypse, women will still take time to do their makeup nice. That's right. That's right. There's Alan Van Sprang. It's Brubaker is his name in this, but it's like I mentioned. I think me and Robert talked about the other night. Good way to, the final three zombie films that Romero did. I think a good way to watch them is Diary, Survival, and then Land. And it kind of follows that character all the way through, and he kind of plays the same character in all of them, so it kind of makes sense. Never liked this scene. This was this turn the light and then what the hell is that, screaming practice? But yeah, never That one was a little cringe. Again, there's so much, like a lot of Big Daddy stuff is just like, why'd you do that? Don't do that. Don't do that. Rob says, thanks for that awesome answer. You're out for Romero for a reason. Well, right to be. But yeah, shit, that's something we've been following for a while. Twilight of the Dead, Queens of the Dead. I'm hoping we get. I mean, 'cause I'm interested. I mean, Brad Anderson is a capable filmmaker. He's made some good films in the past, so um, definitely interested to see what he would do with with some of Romero's lost work. Yeah, it won't be Romero. We all know that it won't be George, but as long as we keep an open mind, and you never know, it might still be enjoyable. Nicholas says, "Welcome, Stukas. You're watching with us. We're about a half hour in. Yeah. Timestamp. Let's see. Yeah. We're about 45 minutes in. I can't quite get the timestamp because everything's over there, but um, right now, Big Daddy is just now figuring out how to shoot this gun. And the Dead Reckoning has been stolen by Cholo and his gang. So, um, which if you look closely here, oh, there's Michael Belcher. Oh, there's Nicotero. I think that's Nicotero. Some good feeding scenes here that were excluded from the theatrical cut for sure. As I was up late typing a paper, happy to catch the stream. Gonna try and get Paige's underwear off in a minute. Okay, well, good luck with that, my man. Tell me how that goes. I want all the gory details. Cameron says Nicholas is a little known director slash producer. His last film had Tony Todd and Kane Hodder among other great actors. Oh, okay, very cool. Um, Speaking of Tony Todd, we mentioned this on the stream the other night. Um, we saw that the new Final Destination film was doing gangbusters at the box office in its opening weekend. So that was really cool to know that Tony Todd's last performance, his last appearance in a film, is uh, was such a smash hit. So, uh, hey, what's up, Kenneth? Kenneth Costa's in the house. Good to see you, my man. Rob's never seen Blue Velvet. Got to check it out. Yeah, man. Uh, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those. It's like it's not for everybody. Some people are gonna like it. Some people aren't. It's like any David Lynch film. It's David Lynch. Um, but I think of all of Lynch's films, Blue Velvet's probably the most universally um, beloved, I guess. Um, it's still out there, but it's not. Well, I mean, I guess Elephant Man, I guess, is probably the most beloved um, David Lynch film, but Blue Velvet's right up there with it. So yeah, I recommend checking it out. It just dawned on me what Diary of the Dead. That's incorrect. That's George had a cameo in Diary of the Dead. If you remember, he's the police officer or the police chief on the TV when they're watching the TV. Um, you see him; he's got the hat on, and he's like, barking orders. So no, George had a cameo in Diary. So, any other guesses? Anybody else? Yeah, this scene, the line, we don't negotiate with terrorists. That whole thing. Definitely straight out of the Bush era, Iraq War, early to mid 2000s. Now I wonder what Kaufman did in the previous life, previous world. How did he gain so much power and influence and take over this building? Because honestly, I mean, if he was the architect of this whole thing and the creator, the visionary of the idea of blocking off this city and rebuilding and starting over and all that, while it may be in vain, I mean, it's pretty impressive. Um, but he's a cold-blooded son of a bitch, as we'll see here in a little bit. But again, that's kind of what you got to be to survive to this, to survive this long, I guess. So it makes total sense. Ed's got it. George wasn't in Survival that I can think of. That's right. George, the one and only film that dead film that George did not have a cameo in was Survival of the Dead. Um, he was in Night of the Living Dead as one of the reporters in Washington D.C. You can see him with the microphone asking the questions. It's in Dawn of the Dead, of course, as the TV director, and a quick flash of him as the Santa Claus biker. Day of the Dead, you see him for a split second. You see, well, you don't see him, but he does walk by the camera at the end of the film when the zombies are in the feasting scene. You can tell that it's him because his scarf, his famous scarf, is hanging there. That you see it dangling by his feet. Land of the Dead, he does the voiceover for the puppets, and then of course Diary, he's the police officer on the TV, but he's not in Survival. So you got it, Ed. And I always one thing that, especially in George's later three Dead films, some of the character names are a little lacking. I don't know. This kid here on the skateboard, I think his name is Mouse or something like that. They're all nicknames, which is kind of interesting. I guess by the at this point during the zombie apocalypse, I guess everybody just kind of has it's almost a Mad Max level. It's you're Lord Humongous at this point. But Cholo, fucking Alan Van Sprang's character in Survival is I think it, I don't even know if they say it in the film, but I know in the screenplay his name's Nicotine Crockett or whatever, um, because he smoked a lot, I guess. Very comic book character names, I guess. We got Charlie Tomboy is one. There's Pillsbury's coming up. Like nobody's name like Bob or Jim or anything. It's I guess Riley's a normal name. Um, but that's something that always kind of stood out. They all kind of have their own. They're all nicknames and not you know Christian names or whatever you want to call it. And I think a lot of people's favorite characters coming up, and he's passed away unfortunately, but Pillsbury, I mentioned him a second ago. Pillsbury coming up when he comes walking in. I remember in the theater, people laughing, and then the line later when he's like, in Detroit, there's however many cars, and he's like, all in Samoa, there's 5,000 cars, all of them stolen. So here's Monica, Motown. There you go. Perfect example. Here's Pillsbury. And he used to do some conventions back in the day too. I never met him, never caught him at one, but I do remember seeing him at some conventions back in the day as well. But like I said, he passed away, God, probably 4 or 5 years ago now, I guess. Stenches. It's saying the only thing I don't get about Land is why bring in the big Samoan like he was gonna kick ass and then he doesn't do anything. Yeah, he's just kind of a big lovable teddy bear at the end. He kind of joins the good guys at the end. But yeah, he is just kind of there as the muscle. Maybe they're trying to intimidate the stenches. Here could be the most famous line of this film. Dennis Hopper picking his nose. Zombies, man. Creep me out. Which I remember seeing that line in the trailer, and he's not picking his nose in the trailer. It's a different take. If you guys go back and watch the trailer for Land of the Dead, they do include that scene, that line of, zombies, man, creep me out. But he's not picking his nose. But in the film, like, he starts digging in his nose, so it was kind of a surprise when I saw that for the first time. But yeah, this was definitely George's most ambitious film. Um, just in terms of the scope and everything that he had to be in charge of and everything he had to do. And I mean, it took a lot out of him by the time they were finished with it. If you go back, if you own the Anchor Bay release of Season of the Witch, that also has the flipper disc. It's got Season of the Witch on one side. There's always vanilla on the other side. There's the interview that they do with George where he's talking about Season of the Witch, and there's always vanilla, and that was recorded while he was filming Land of the Dead. Felsher was in charge of that, and Felsher tells the story. Um, he George came in after a long night of shooting. I mean, it was like an all-nighter, and he came in to interview for this. And if you can tell when you watch that, you can see George is pretty burned out, and not in the best of moods. It's probably one of the grumpiest interviews I've ever seen George do. And even at one point in the interview, George literally says, like, after talking about it for a while, he's just like, "Look, I'm gonna tell you, like, I don't think about these movies too much. I haven't seen them in a while, and really, I care very little about them. So include that if you will. But I'm just being honest." It's like he tried to put on a brave face for it, but after about 15 minutes, he was just like, "Look, I don't really care to talk about these movies anymore." Now here's a great effect coming up, a really great gore effect. The zombie with the hand in the mouth, pulling the innards out of the throat. That got a big squirm out of the audience uh, back when we saw it in theaters. And like I said, I saw this movie 3 times in theaters, and I liked it more and more each time I saw it. So there's the end of Alan Van Sprang's characters. So like I said, if you watched it in order, Diary, Survival, Land of the Dead, that would be the end of his character right there. Um, but like I was saying, I liked it more and more each time I saw it. The first time I remember so vividly is going to see it the first night in the theater and wanting to love it, like wanting to like it so much more. Like I remember, like maybe a night or two before going to see it, like I remember I had a dream about it, and I remember dreaming about the dream that I had. I was like watching a new version of Dawn of the Dead on screen, and not just like in a mall or the aesthetics of Dawn of the Dead or anything like that. It was just more about like the independent spirit of Dawn of the Dead. That's what I wanted out of Land of the Dead. Um, it just felt so Hollywood and so out of the ordinary for George the first time I saw it. You got the big name actors like Dennis Hopper and John Leguizamo. Um, and like I said, it's a bigger budget, it's just bigger scope, there's more to it. The CGI and stuff, it's not what I was expecting, not what I was wanting. I was wanting indie George. I wanted independent, um, stuff shot on location, more stuff during the daytime. It just felt so much more Hollywood, so much more like a big budget horror film from the time. Um, that I couldn't get past that the first time that I saw it. And this is one of the worst looking CGI bits in the film, to be honest with you. Which they tried to do this practically, the priest zombie with the spine and the head, and they tried to do that practically. I remember seeing clips of that where Nicotero's trying to figure out how the hell am I going to do this. And then after they eventually just said, well, it's just going to have to be CGI because there's really no way that we can make that work with the time and the budget that we have. I'm sure, if they had more time, more money, they could probably figure it out. But um, so yeah, I'd go. I went back to see it like a couple days later. I went back to see it again about a week after that, and I liked it more and more because I kind of digested and accepted what it was as opposed to what I wanted it to be. And then once I did that, I kind of saw it for what it was and appreciated it for what it was. Again, is it a masterpiece? It's not a masterpiece. It's not. It does. It's. I would say it's closer to George's original trilogy than the latter two of his last three. Um, which I guess it's supposed to be because it's a literal continuation of that, timeline. But once I kind of accepted it for what it was, and then kind of saw what George was going for with it, I appreciated it a lot more. Um, and it's not bad. It's one of those films that plays really well for a new audience too. Like if you're trying to introduce somebody to Romero for the first time, um, there's action, there's gore, there's comedy. It's a little bit of everything. It is kind of like Dawn in that way. So it's a good one to show a younger audience or a new viewer, or you're introducing somebody to George for the first time. Land of the Dead's not a bad choice to go with, but anyway, yeah, Nicholas, all of them stolen. Cameron says, I remember watching some behind the scenes on this one. Simon Baker couldn't get over how John Leguizamo ate so much food. Oh, I've never heard that. I have seen him interviewed in some behind the scenes stuff, and he's always talked about how much fun he had on the set. And he was like, I got to be honest, like this is the most fun I've ever had on a film set. Um, but yeah, he went on to do like a TV show. Um, what the fuck is that? The Mentalist, I guess that was his big claim to fame on CBS. I'm waiting for my favorite scene to pop up here. Hey, Synth, what's going on, man? Hey, y'all busy driving now, but we'll take a break in a bit. Milk toast. Yeah, I think that's kind of the main criticism people have of him. Uh, Carl says, "What the fuck, dude? I thought you were going to watch the movie. I am watching the movie. I can't show the movie on here. I'll get fucking booted. It's fucking YouTube. But I'm watching the movie. Are you mad that I'm talking through it? I apologize. I'll just sit here and watch. I'll be quiet. I'm sorry. I don't want you getting mad at me, so I'm just gonna watch. To watch along, homie. Have you ever seen one of these on YouTube? I gotta talk or something. Nobody wants to just sit and watch me watch something. The fuck would be the point of that? I watch it and I talk about it, and that's. It's a good way to dig in. Now I'm afraid to talk too much. I'm distracting Carl from watching a movie. I'm sorry, brother. I'll be quiet. Ed says my dad said Simon looked like the professor on Gilligan's Island. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that. You could definitely tell this was like his attempt at this, like, okay, this is my chance to be a leading man in an action film type of thing. Gotta look cool, gotta sound cool. Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't seen more, like toys or something of the Dead Reckoning. I feel like it wasn't it didn't take the world by storm quite the way that George kind of thought it would in terms of marketability. Like not a lot of people really bring up the Dead Reckoning as but again, I think it's one of those things because they kind of do the same thing in the Dawn remake where they take the bus and reinforce it and all that stuff. Um, so I think it was one of those things where people had kind of seen it already at that point. But when George wrote the original script for this, the original screenplay, I mean, it was the mid '90s, so it was way before that. So George had the idea for the Dead Reckoning and a lot of this stuff. I mean, a lot of what you see in Land of the Dead, George already kind of had in that original Day of the Dead script. So really, a lot of this was in George's mind 20 years prior. Um, I know old Mousie's getting torn apart here. So yeah, a lot of this stuff was, it had been floating around in George's mind for so long. Going all the way back to that original Day script. So really, if you kind of mix Land of the Dead and Day of the Dead together, which would be an interesting fan edit if anybody could ever figure out how to do it, to kind of mix Land of the Dead and Day of the Dead together, kind of get some idea of what the original screenplay would have looked like if it had been made. There's some great shots here with the horde of zombies standing on the edge of this river here, dropping off into the water, figuring out that, hey, we can't drown. Cool. And again, I think I mentioned this on a stream a while back, but the idea of the zombies trying to break into this secure area and trying to get to the Fiddler's Green, the big shiny object on the hill, the one building that's lit up like a Christmas tree, and they're all attracted to that. We all have to get to that building. Um, hey, Mount Washington. Maybe there's a mention. They're trying to get up Mount Washington, which is a bitch, let me tell you. Um, But I think it was George's way of kind of looking at like immigration and stuff, and the way that some people look at immigration as an invasion of outsiders that are trying to get in and get your stuff, trying to take over your Fiddler's Green. This is a great scene. The shots of the zombies coming out of the water here, which from what I remember from the behind the scenes stuff, it was freezing when they shot this. So could you imagine being out in that water? I think they shot this in the dead of winter in Toronto, so you can only imagine. He's a cowboy with no name. That's a good way to put it. Riley. Uh, TCCK Gaming says, I recently watched a video of the 2009 Scream Awards. I wish I was alive at that time so I could have witnessed that. Dude, I forget you're so young. I forget you 2009. You weren't alive in 2000. Jesus. That's crazy. You make me feel so old, my man. 2009 seems like it was yesterday for me. It was. I look back on that time period, the mid to late 2000s. I look back on that time period fondly in terms of like films and stuff, and a lot of the horror stuff that was kind of coming out around that time. It was kind of little. It was kind of a resurgence of a lot of the classic stuff, and um, because I was like right at that age where I was just old enough to go to the movies and see everything that was coming out at the time by myself for the first time. Um, I think we're about to see the appearance of Tom Savini here. Steven says it wasn't as great as the Holy Zombie trilogy, but I enjoyed it overall. Seeing Blades as a zombie was a high point for me. Plus, Gut Boy did a great job on the effects. I meant Greg. Oh, I'm sure Greg would appreciate that if he hears that. Oh, Gut Boy. And yeah, like I've mentioned before, like when Tom shows up, I remember being in the theater when Tom shows up as as Blades, the returning character from Dawn as a zombie. For me, I was like, oh, there he is. Like, there's Tom. Tom Savini's on the big screen again in 2005 as a character from my favorite movie ever. And then I hear some guy in the audience, down below me when he shows up. Some guy goes, "Sex Machine." And I was like, well, halfway, sorta, close, not quite. So I think a lot of people just thought it was like a reference to From Dusk Till Dawn at the when it first came out. Yeah, I've heard that before, Bonnie. I love the water scene. Reminds me of Carnival of Souls. Yeah, I've heard that from other people before, which I still need to go back and watch that. I started watching it. It was on YouTube. I started watching it a couple weeks back. Fell asleep, halfway because I usually start movies late and I fall asleep through them, and if I forget to go back to them, but yeah, I need to go back and finish that for sure. Um, it says poll question: should they have done a shot of them underwater? Well, see, I remember hearing like on the websites back in the day, like a lot of the forums and stuff, um, the rumors that there's going to be zombies underwater in this movie. Like that's all I thought of. I was like, oh, it's going to be like Fulci's Zombie, where the zombies fighting the shark underwater. I'm like, oh wow, that'll be interesting to see. Um, but that we didn't quite get that in land, but it'd be kind of hard to do. But I just had this mental image of an underwater shot of the zombies at the bottom of the water, just like, you know, trudging along. I never quite understood or fully bought into the relationship that Cholo and Riley have in this film. It's like, are they enemies? Because they're arguing, they're at odds from the moment you see them, and the first time you see them in this film, they're never on the same page at all. They want different things, but at the same time, they act like they were old buddies, like old friends from years ago, and so I never had a complete grasp on what their relationship really was. That's a great shot of the head being ripped, and the spinal cord down the back. Here they come. The invasion. Like Big Daddy's like, don't use the bat. Shoot the motherfucker. Shoot the motherfucker, baby. Keep that love flame burning. Oh, yeah. Shot him right up the dick, too. Great makeup on baseball zombie there, too. With the cheek missing. Ed said, I'm surprised that Rubenstein didn't pitch a fit over Blades returning. I had the same sex machine experience in my theater. There you go. Well, I don't think like they don't explicitly say like, oh, this is here comes Blades. So, and again, I think with Richard's relationship with George, they always had a mutual respect and appreciation for each other. I don't think Rubenstein would have made a stink about that. Something like that. Um, yeah, it is Richard Rubenstein, so you never know. Hey, what's going on, Aaron? It says hello from New Zealand. I didn't know Tom was in Land of the Dead. I must rewatch it again. Yeah, I actually have a Tom Savini Blades action figure signed by Tom Savini over there on my wall from Land of the Dead. So, and the Dream of the Dead mini documentary that Roy Frumkus did that they showed on IFC before the film came out pretty much followed Tom Savini's time on set, like him going back, shaving the getting bringing back the mustache, and his transformation into the zombie and all that, and then his banter back and forth with Nicotero, and uh, it's really entertaining. It's only about 35 minutes long. Um, But it's a really fun, entertaining little documentary there. Dream of the Dead. I think it's available on where's it at? What I do there? Poor Motown. Um, Dead Again. So it's not featured on this, the DVD. Lighting's bad. My bad, guys. But it is included on the Scream Factory special edition Blu-ray here. Very good little documentary from Roy Frumkus, who of course did Document of the Dead. So, but good to see you. Thanks for coming in all from New Zealand, man. Now, this is probably my favorite scene in the whole fucking movie. Watch out! Get down! Just cold blood. And again, it's one of those movies that there was a lot of squirming and screaming and laughing. I mean, it was a run of emotions in the theater when I saw this, but that one got a huge laugh. Like when he shot, like when he shoots that dude in the fucking back of the head as cold blooded as possible. I remember hearing a dude behind me go, "Damn!" He's like, he shot that motherfucker. He didn't give a shit. But I'll never forget that. Damn. Which I'm usually not a big fan of people talking through movies and stuff, um, but little things like that, that like always enhances the viewing experience sometimes. Oh, shit's going haywire. Nicholas says Cholo wishes they were rivals. Riley is just trying to get clear of this and help a few people stay alive along the way. That's a good point. Yeah, see, Riley's trying to get out. Like, he doesn't want to be a part of this society anymore. He doesn't want Fiddler's Green. He doesn't want any of that. He just kind of wants to. He wants to go to Canada. George again. Even harkening back to Fran and Dawn of the Dead. It's like, we can forget about Canada, right? For some reason, Canada is the safest place in the world, according to Romero. I don't know, which I guess explains why he moved there. But that's a good way to put it, Cameron. Cholo and Riley are frenemies. They probably worked together for so long. They were just longtime co-workers and close buddies that way, but kind of grown apart over the years. Yeah, Ron Simmons was at my theater. There's Tom, returning blades. A little thicker than he was in 70, 78, but he did fall into a fountain, so he probably laid in that fountain, probably bloated up a little bit. But Tom was jacked during this time period, 2005. Even as an older guy, I mean, Tom has always been pretty jacked. Workout warrior. But no, I don't think it was Ron Simmons. It wasn't quite a damn. It was more like a damn. It was more like a Chris Tucker. I think maybe it would have been more like a Chris Tucker response than a Ron Simmons response. Damn. Okay, there you go. Nicholas, as a Canadian, I can confirm no zombies. Well, there you go. As an American, I can confirm there's a ton of fucking zombies around here, so. Uh, which George actually jokes in that German documentary. Do you believe in zombies? Yeah, there's a lot of zombies walking around, but I don't know. Not the living dead. Schlunk. Oh, Cholo gets bit. And this is another like animatronic zombie. It looks decent. But again, with this budget, I mean, you look at this film, I mean, it looks so much bigger than it actually is. Um, and you got to think K and B was working on this. They weren't. They probably weren't charging. I mean, it was obvious. I mean, would surprise me at all if Greg was kind of doing this more as a favor for George and just kind of the honor of working on Romero's new film, as opposed to trying to make a ton of money on it, working on it or anything. But yeah, very very ambitious film. Can't take that away from it. Cameron says, by the way, I always wanted Cholo's dart gun. So cool. Yeah, it is kind of cool that Cholo kind of has his own weapon, his own distinct weapon. All the characters kind of do. Charlie's got his rifle, his special rifle, like which the line earlier is a great line. He's like, no, I'm good. I just want my rifle. They're trying to give him this like high powered machine gun or whatever, and there's like, well, this thing shoots 60 rounds a minute or whatever. And he's just like, oh, I don't usually need that many. It's like, oh, that's a great line. Aaron says Romero's contributions to the horror genre will not be forgotten. Yeah, I hope not. I'm trying to do my part and make sure that that it's not forgotten. But I think that's a super important thing that I think a lot of people. It's super important that people are trying to keep George's legacy alive, and I'm just trying to do my little part here on my own little way. Um, I think I don't I mean I think George's legacy will live on, and his influence will definitely will live on forever. But as the younger generations keep on coming. Hell, I know young people who don't even know who the hell you know if you try to mention somebody from the 90s, they look at you like you just brought up Todd Browning or something, and they're like, who's that? Then again, I know fucking 40-year-old dudes who you could bring up the most obvious names, and they'd be like, who's that? So just depends on what circles you run in, I guess. It says so. It was Ricky Morton Rock and Roll Express type. Damn. Yeah, yeah, more like that. Now, of course, we all wanted George's version of Resident Evil, um, and I've always been curious of what that would have been like. This sequence of shots here, the card going through, the doors opening, Cholo walking down these stairs, kind of the look that Cholo has, and then this long crane, like crane shot where he's walking down the tracks. That looks like something. Looks like a cutscene from a Resident Evil game. Looks just like a cutscene from like Resident Evil 2 or something. So that little bit just makes me just wish we would have gotten that George's version of Resident Evil even more. Let's see, you can see Blasey there in the crowd for a second here if you look close enough. Oh, Matt Blasey from over at the George A. Romero Foundation, who's actually in the most recent Horror Salad Grounds with Sean Clark for some Blair Witch Project locations. Pretty cool video. And they're getting in. By God, what would have been 27 years later? The zombies are back and they're shopping again, baby. There's Felcher again. Another one that got a squirm out of the audience in the theaters was the belly button ring scene here. Yep, that one. A lot of squirming women, I remember at that screening. Aaron says, I hope to get to see some of the locations of his films in the future if they still preserve them all from Dawn of the Dead 1978. You better do it sooner than later, man. I know it's a long haul from New Zealand, but if you want to do it, sooner rather than later. It's not looking too good for the Monroeville Mall, unfortunately. I don't know if you've been following the news on that, but that mall has been purchased by Walmart. Um, so yeah, it's not looking too good. I hope you can, man. It's definitely if you are a if you're a fan and you love this stuff as much as we do, and it's a dream trip that every diehard Romero fan has to take at least once to just experience it once. And sadly and unfortunately, um, a lot of those locations are kind of slowly disappearing. We just recently lost the Monroeville Airport, so I'm glad I got to visit that while it was still up and around. But we just lost that, and the future of the mall is very much up in the air. So if you get a chance to, if you get the time to, definitely make it happen sooner rather than later, my man. And this zombie here on the bridge that's attacking Riley is actually old gut boy himself, Greg Nicotero. One coming up here in just a second. Gets his head cut off. It says Romero mentions on the DVD commentary that he had the idea for zombie animals in this film. Yeah, I remember hearing something about that, which he kind of expands on. Where I mean, in Survival, he has the zombies eating animals. That was kind of the thing they were trying to get him to do in that film. But he actually kind of expands on it and actually has zombie animals in the Living Dead novel that he started and Daniel Krauss finished, which I'm still working on getting through that. The audio book on Spotify I've been trying to listen to every now and then at work in my white unmarked van. There's Simon Pegg's action scene here. Yeah, I mean it's not a bad film. It's fun. It's like I said, for a modern horror film, there's some substance to it. It's not perfect, but it's fun. Sorry, my throat's been a little scratchy today. I woke up, my allergies were killing me, so pushing through, pushing through. The old legless zombie. We may see him again here shortly. Like those barricades are going to stop anything. Again, another shot that looks like something out of a Resident Evil cutscene. Him on top of that dead reckoning with the missile launchers there. Oh, sky flowers. Some flowers in the graveyard. But and this is when we know that the zombies have gone woke. They woke now. Are these the first woke zombies? I can remember. So we're not falling for your bullshit anymore. We're not distracted by the fireworks and the bright lights and the colors and the loud noises. We're killing all y'all. Killing everybody in here. A little bit of that Romero slapstick there. Aaron says, I love Romero's work. Thanks for the info on the mall. I have to go. It's day here. You've gained a subscriber. Enjoy your evening, everyone. Well, thank you very much, man. I appreciate you found me. Or I'm glad you found me. I appreciate you subscribing. We'll say that. Um, but hey, have a good rest of the day over in New Zealand. Pretty cool. Hey, my lunatic. That's how I'm gonna pronounce it. I don't know. I know it's my lunatic is what you're kind of going for, but I like my lunatic 99. What's going on? Made it late, but made it. Well, I'm glad you made it. Better late than never. Better late than never. Hope you're doing well. Comes some classic Dennis Hopper line delivery. God damn it. What the fuck? I'm just such a huge Dennis Hopper fan. I don't care. You got the fucking again. Another funny line, and it's another thing I guess is really kind of hitting home for me now is how genuinely funny a lot of the lines and some of the gags in this are. Whereas in like Survival, I think a lot of the comedy and and the gags kind of fell flat. They didn't quite hit as well. And Diary is a far more serious film. Not a lot to giggle about in Diary. And when George tries to incorporate a little bit of that in Diary, it just does not work. Like the weird music at the end with the girl, it's like I'm from Texas, and it's like or whatever that is. That was just like, where the fuck did that come from? Very confusing. Especially the first time you see it. It's still confusing now, even after seeing it multiple times. It says, the thought just hit me. A land novelization series would have been interesting, fill in a lot of gaps. They did a comic book series of that. I've never read any of them, but there is like a comic book miniseries that they released, or graphic novel or whatever they call it. Um, that might be worth checking out. That's a good idea. Because again, I think the most successful thing about this film that George really did a good job on is just the world building aspect of it. Okay, I got it. See, I do my best. I do my best, guys, to get the names right. I dig it. Nicholas says Dead Reckoning was a book I never read. Yeah, there's also is that what it's called? It's like the unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead. I think it wasn't written by George or anything like that, but it was like kind of a fan fiction type thing. It was like an unofficial sequel to Dawn of the Dead called Dead Reckoning. Is that what that was called? Dead Reckoning, or it was something like that, I think. Is that what you're talking about? I've never read that either, but they're kind of hard to find. They're pretty limited. I see them pop up on eBay every now and then, but they're usually 45, 50, $60 sometimes. And I'm just like, for a book that, know, it's a little steep, but especially if it's not something that was written by Romero or anything like that. Whoa. And then the flaming dollar bills there after the explosion. Great visual. My says, wasn't there a game too? How did that tie into the film? Yeah, there was a game, Land of the Dead, Road to Fiddler's Green, which they actually have a trailer for during the previews before the film. I actually just watched it. Brought back a lot of memories. I used to have that for PC. It was on Xbox too. It was on Xbox and PC. Um, and I had the PC version. You could actually play online with other people, and that was kind of fun. Um, but the game itself, I mean, it wasn't a great game or anything by any means, but it was just kind of cool to have a Romero video game based off Land of the Dead. And I never accessed any of them. I don't know too much about it, but I've always heard and I've seen some videos of some different mods that you could create, that people have created, that you could download. And for the PC version, you could they like there. I've seen a Monroeville Mall mod where it's the game Land of the Dead, but it's like the surroundings that you can play in is the Monroeville Mall. Um, but yeah, it was one of those games that wasn't great, but it was also pretty cheap. Like I remember when I got it, the PC version, I got it brand new. It was like 19.99 at Best Buy or wherever the hell I got it. It was one of those games that wasn't great, but it wasn't expensive either, so it was just it's kind of worth it. I don't know whatever happened to it. I think I might still have it. It might be in my parents' house or something like that in a box somewhere, but I'd love to have it back because you can find them now. Like you'll see them on like either the Xbox version or the PC version. You'll see them on eBay now, and they're like double that. You can see them 40, $50 a piece because I guess they're just kind of hard to find. They're pretty limited. But it wasn't. But the thing of the game itself, there was no real tie-in to the movie other than the fact that the whole goal of the game is to get to Fiddler's Green, and then when you're there, I think Kaufman, if I remember correctly, is actually in the game. But outside of that, you're just playing like this redneck or something that's like going just trying to work your way to the Fiddler's Green. Um, but yeah, that's the only real tie-in to the movie, really. Since says, yeah, the Diary, Yellow Rose of Texas joke is dope. Yeah, yeah. Didn't quite work. Not in that film setting at all. I don't even think it would have worked in survival either, but it felt more like something that would be in Survival of the Dead as opposed to Diary. Um, Camera says zombie shopping brings back great memories of the Dawn of the Dead music and the Zeds wandering the mall. Yeah, it does. It's pretty much what it is, harkening back to that. So yeah, we're coming up on the end of the film here, and again, another big gripe that I had with this movie from the time that I saw it is that just too many people survive. There's too many people alive at the end of this movie. Like I'm so used to like Night of the Living Dead, everybody dies. Dawn of the Dead, I mean George originally had everybody die, but they had Peter and Fran survive. But through Dawn of the Dead, like people that you actually cared about and liked ended up dying through the movie and kind of tugged on your heartstrings. And this one, nobody really that you really like dies. Like if Charlie died at some point in this movie, like I think that would have been a good move if Charlie ended up getting killed by for some reason. It would be like watching. It's like Matt said earlier. It'd be like watching your trusty dog die or something. It'd be like damn. But too many left standing for my taste. Take us north to Canada we go, and that is the fireworks, last of the sky flowers, and that was Land of the Dead. That flew by. I will say the movie moves, man. It doesn't drag. It kind of moves along. Um, but yeah, that was Land of the Dead, 2005. I like it. I mean, I'm not. I dig it for what it is. It's not, it's not great or anything. It's not like a masterpiece, but it's not bad. I hear so many people that are just like, "Oh, Land of the Dead," like what a, whatever. What happened to Romero? It's like, yeah, it's again, it all comes down to your expectations, I guess, and the bar that was set in Romero's original trilogy. It's like that's you know, a hard bar to reach, I guess. Um, but yeah. I enjoy it. I enjoy it for what it is. I have a serious appreciation for Land of the Dead. And 20 years of Land of the Dead. It's crazy to think that didn't see this film for the first time. It was 20 years ago. It's crazy. Uh, Nicholas says, I used to work in a library. I remember reading the blurb on the back and thinking it was a more developed version of the film. Um, oh, the book Dead Reckoning. If it's the one that I'm thinking of, it's like an unofficial uh, sequel to Dawn of the Dead. Like it follows Fran and Peter, like what happens to them after they leave the mall in the helicopter. Um, so I think it's more so that than anything related to Land of the Dead. Nicholas says, "Great experience. Thanks. Well, thanks for joining, man. I hope you enjoyed that. A little Land of the Dead talk, and get ready. Living Dead weekend. We're gonna, Eugene Clark's gonna be there. Sean Roberts. Of course, Greg's a part of Land of the Dead. He'll be there. I'd love to get Robert Joy. I'd love to see Robert Joy again. Like I said, he was at that Texas Frightmare weekend back in 2008, but that was kind of the last time I remember seeing him do a con. Um, so yeah, I don't know if he's doing many these days, but it's saying name the three main characters that would have meant the most to die. Well, Charlie for one. I think that would have been a good like emotional moment in the film. Charlie would have probably been a good one. Um, um, I don't know. The whole like lovey-dovey thing with Ozzy Argento and Simon Baker at the end of that? It's kind of a little corny. Where she's like, "Oh, I almost lost you." Yeah, it's a little corny. Um, I don't know, man. I guess I wanted the you know just kill Simon Baker. Like let him sacrifice himself or something to save the city. Like that would be a great ending. But I mean, you had like Tomboy survive, the guy with the hat survives. Um, whatever happened to Cholo's sidekick? Oh, what's his name? Can't remember what his name is. The greasy looking dude. Uh, whatever happened to that guy? He just kind of got in the car and took off. Like he could have gone. Um, I don't know. It just seemed like at the end, like everybody was just kind of one big happy family, and it was just kind of like, eh. But I definitely think the one that would have meant the most in terms of like a just a memorable moment in the film that would kind of make you realize that you cared about a character more than you thought you did would definitely be if Charlie had if something had happened to Charlie, because again it's probably my favorite character in the film, maybe outside of Kaufman. I do just Dennis Hopper. I love Dennis Hopper, but Charlie is definitely be right at the top of that list. um, hey, Gene. All right, Gene Chuck Johnson. I like that. I like the ring of that. Did I miss the movie? Yeah, you just missed it. We are just now wrapping it up. Land of the Dead, 2005. 20 years of Land of the Dead. Can you believe it? So yeah, that's it. I hope you guys had fun with this. I'm going to hop off here now. Give my voice a rest because I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm a little congested and I'm starting to lose my voice a little bit here. So I'm going to try to rest up and get ready for this weekend, this Saturday night, Romero Fan Roundtable, number 3, The Road to Living Dead Weekend. I'm going to have some guests. Matt Landrum will be there. John Vulo has agreed to join. I think Synth's going to join us as well. And like I said, anybody that's coming to Living Dead Weekend, is going to be there, wants to talk about it, wants to get hype with us, you're more than welcome to hop on and join us. And there'll be some others joining as well. So looking forward to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Um, Good question, Gene Chuck. Good question. Well, Gene Chuck, next watch along. We're doing a fan commentary the following Saturday, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, the 31st, May 31st. We'll be doing a Day of the Dead fan commentary, live fan commentary. It'll be me and some other. I think Matt's going to join us again. Landrum's going to be on that one as well. Make up for missing out on that Dawn one, our last fan commentary. So our next watch along slash fan commentary will be Day of the Dead, May 31st. And that'll probably normal time, probably 10 p.m. Eastern time, 9 p.m. Central. And then again, like I said, June 1st, the annual almost at this point, Living Dead Weekend preview show with Lawrence DeVincent and Daz Sargent. That one's going to be really, really fun, really cool. Any questions, any topics you want to talk about in terms of Living Dead Weekend or Romero in general? That's the stream to join us on. So looking forward to that. Good to see everybody in the chat. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Steven says good night. Cool watch along. Have fun at LDW. Will do, man. Thanks for joining me, Ed. Good to see you as always, my man. Seth, glad you were able to hop on here. Always good to hear from you. Bonnie, always a pleasure. Good to see you as well. Gene Shuck says, I'll be there. Well, I'll see you then, sir. I'll see you then. I look forward to it. Rob, thanks, Alpha. Great time. Good night, all. Thanks again, Rob. Always good to see you, my man. And always keep that love flame burning, my man. Mai, have a good night to you. Hope you have a good rest of the week. Kenneth popping in here. Have a great night, Kenneth. Good to see you again. And yeah, we'll be fun to talk some day as well. Yeah, that'll be a fun commentary. I'm looking forward to that one. A week before the event should be a good hype stream for sure. John, I look forward to talking to you. I'll see you this weekend too, my man. For the Romero Fan Roundtable. So I'll see you there, sir. But yeah, hope you guys have a great rest of the week, a great rest of the night, and always stay prepared, but always stay scared. Good night, everybody.